بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ ريحته القائلون ولا يحصيه عناءه العابدون ولا يؤدي حقه المشتاقون. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعلم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. We are in the month of Muharram, and this afternoon I want to share with you a letter that Imam al-Hussein sent to the people of Basra. This letter was different from the letter that was sent to the people of Kufa. The people of Kufa wrote a letter to the Imam, so he responded to it. But he was the one who initiated the letter to the people of Basra. And I think that the words of Imam al-Hussein are the best ways for us to understand the maqasid and the objectives of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And it's important for us in our community to become familiar with the words of the Imam, and that we should also be using these words in our conversations, using these words in our speeches as well. I recently came to realize that perhaps many of us are not familiar with the words of the Imam. For example, what was the poetry of the Imam on the day of Ashura? What is the khutbah that the Imam gave on the day of Ashura and the days leading up to the day of Ashura? How can we know the principles of the Imam? How can we know the goals of the Imam if we don't know what were the words of the Imam? I was recently speaking to some very sincere youth who are trying to follow in the footsteps of Abu Abdullah himself. And we were speaking about the movement of the Imam. And I came to realize that many of them were not familiar even with the most important statements that were given on the day of Ashura. And I also came to realize that it's not only our youth who are not familiar, but sometimes the members of the community are also not familiar with it. And that is a little bit surprising for us. Because in the months of Muharram and Safar, we go to so many majalis for Abu Abdullah. In fact, some days we go to 3 or 4 majalis for the Imam. I think we go for more lectures than, for example, a student will go in a whole term at the university. Then how come we are not familiar with the words of the Imam? How come it is not in our memory? How come we cannot refer to it when we want to talk about Imam al-Hussein? One of the reasons I can think of it is because we have not been sharing the words of the Imam from the Miqbar. And we have not been sharing the words of the Imam from the majalis and the majalis of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Today we have majalises which we say are majalis of the fada'il, the merits of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Yet in those very majalis which we consider to be the merits, the majalis of fada'il, we did not consider the words of the Imam to be a fadilah for him. That should give us a little bit of thought. Therefore today I want to share with you the words of the Imam. These words are captured in different ways. They are captured through the letters of the Imam. They are captured through the sermons of the Imam. They are captured through the conversations that the Imam had leading up to the day of Ashura. They are captured in the du'as of the Imam that he recited on the day of Ashura. And they are also captured in the poetry of the Imam that he recited. You know, when Imam was in Karbala, he used to recite Marfiya. Do we know what was the Marfiya of Al-Husayn? يَدَعُ أُفٍّ لَكَ مِنْ خَلِيلٍ. Or on the day of Ashura, when he went into the battlefield, he recited poetry. Do we know what was the Rajaz, the poetry of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn? So we have to know these things. Now, the letter I have to share with you today, or I want to share with you today, is the letter that Imam wrote to the people of Basra. And he addressed the leaders of the Shia in Basra. And these were 5 or 6 people in particular. The letter went directly to them in particular. And their names are mentioned in the books of history. Imam alayhi salam sent a messenger to them. This messenger, his name was Sulaiman Abu Zarrin. Sulaiman, his title was Abu Zarrin. He's not very familiar to us. We have heard of Muslim ibn Aqil. Muslim ibn Aqil was the first shaheed on the path to Karbala. Some of us have also heard of the name of Qais ibn Musahhir as-Saydawi. Qais ibn Musahhir as-Saydawi was the messenger of Imam Hussein who took his letter to the people of Kufa. He was the 3rd martyr on the path to Karbala. The 2nd martyr on the path to Karbala was Sulaiman Abu Zarrin. Okay. He was the messenger of Imam Hussein to the people of Basra. And he took the letter to 5 or 6 people. These were the leaders of the Shia in Basra. And one of them, he is the one, when he received the Qasid, the messenger of the Imam, he arrested the messenger of the Imam. You know why he arrested the messenger of the Imam? The man was so paranoid. He thought that the messenger could have possibly 2% chance come from Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. Ubaydullah was known to be deceptive. Ubaydullah was known to use tricks of this type. And he said, given the possibility that 2% chance it could have come from Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, and if I don't go and report it to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, it will put my position in a very precarious place. Ihtiyatan, out of precaution, I myself will deliver this qasid to Ubaydullah. Delivered him to Ubaydullah. The very same day, Ubaydullah executed him. Same like Muslim, took him on top of the tower, threw him to the ground, and the next day Ubaydullah left Basra to go to the city of In any case, now this letter comes to the people of Basra. This letter has been narrated in the books of Maqtal, and in particular, even Al-Tabari narrates in his Tarikh. This letter is from Imam Hussein to the leaders of the Shia in Basra. Now we have to develop the patience to listen to the words of the Imam. You are the followers of the Imam. I'm going to read for you the words of the Imam. So now we have to develop the patience to hear the Arabic and the English of it. أما بعد, now then, فإن الله قد اختار محمدا على خلقه. For surely Allah has chosen Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وأكرمه بالنبوة. Has chosen him over the people, over his creation, and honored him with his prophethood. وَاخْتَارَهُ لِرِسَالَتِهِ. He has chosen him for his message. ثُمَّ قَبَضَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Then Allah took him back to himself. وَقَدْ نَصَحَ لِعِبَادِهِ. Whereas the Prophet had admonished the servants of Allah. وَبَلَّغَ مَا أُرْسِلَ بِهِ. And he conveyed whatever message was given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكُنَّا أَهْلُهُ. And we were his family. وَأَوْلِيَاؤُهُ. And the ones who were closest to him. وَأَوْصِيَاؤُهُ. And we were his heirs. وَوَرَثَتُهُ. And we were his successors. وَأَحَقُّ النَّاسِ بِمَقَامِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. We were the most deserving of people to take his position amongst the people after he passed away. Why is Imam beginning by speaking about the Prophet of Allah? And what is Imam alayhi salam trying to introduce over here? We have to understand the social and political context of the time. I've mentioned this in some of my other lectures, that during that period of time, many or some of the Shia were political Shia. They were not yet theological Shias. You know, the word Shia first appears in the hadith of the Prophet, but it's not used in the Ummah. It does not become circulated within the Ummah until the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. At the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, three groups of Shia appear, and they are all known as Shia. The first are the Shia of Ali. The second are the Shia of Uthman. And the third are known as the Shia of Muawiyah. Shia meant somebody who was politically loyal, somebody who was politically allied to you. If you needed help in the battlefield, this person will come and support you in the battlefield. But some of those Shia, if you were to ask them, then why do you follow this Imam? Do you follow him because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed him? They would say, not necessarily. I follow him because he's very knowledgeable. I follow him because he's very just and pious. I follow him because he is the closest to the Holy Prophet. Now what was the result of that? The result of that in the year 61 after Hijrah is that some of the Shia, when they see Imam Hussein is rising, they see it as a political struggle. They don't see it as a what? Ideological struggle. What do they see in front of them? They see two families are vying for power. On one side you have the Banu Hashim, on the other side you have the Banu Umayyah. The Banu Hashim have their followers, the Banu Umayyah have their followers. Al-Hussein is calling us to support the Banu Hashim. Imam alayhi salam wants to change the narrative. This is the narrative of the Banu Umayyah. Imam alayhi salam wants to frame it differently. Imam alayhi salam wants to tell them, this is not just a political struggle. This is an ideological struggle for the heart of the Ummah. And Imam is now laying down the foundations, the theological foundations of Shiaism for them. We have to appreciate the efforts that our Imams put in establishing the theological foundations of Shiaism for us. It took a struggle. It took an effort. Imam alayhi salam is telling them that this struggle is a godly struggle. That you cannot enter this struggle without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are godly origins to this struggle. And that if you go into this struggle without thinking about Allah, without making Allah a part of this struggle, no good will come out of it. So at that time, the struggle was that their politics had become secular. Their politics was without God. What is our struggle today? Today, not only our politics is secular, everything has become secular. Our communities are becoming secular instead of being sacred communities. Our activism is becoming secular instead of being sacred activism. Sometimes we don't even know that our activism is secular activism. Our Hussein is becoming secular instead of being sacred. Our Hussein. The way we understand it. The way we present it. Look at how we present Imam al-Hussein today. We present him with many good qualities. He stood up for justice. He stood up for dignity. He stood up for freedom. But the one quality that defines Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, sometimes we're shy to present that. He stood for Tawheed and Islam. His name is Abu Abdullah. What does Abu Abdullah mean? Abu Abdullah means the father of those, the leader of those, the example of those who are the perfect servants of whom? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then what is Al-Hussein if he is not presented with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Our speeches are becoming secular. Today when we address people, we address without the mention of the name of God in our speeches. Our spirituality is becoming secular instead of becoming sacred spirituality. Isn't it common to hear nowadays that spirituality can mean different things to different people? And whatever spirituality means to you, then that is valuable. What is spirituality without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? There is no spirituality, absolutely whatsoever, if it is not connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our education system is becoming secular. And subhanallah, Imam saw that the politics was becoming secular, he made qiyam. We live in a society where everything is becoming godless. Should not that wake us up? Our education system is becoming secular, so much so that the mindset of the Muslim has accepted that there is secular school and there is religious school. And Monday to Friday we learn secular sciences, and Saturday and Sunday we learn what? Religious sciences. Is there something called secular science? Is it science if it is disconnected from God? Is it? Can you explain the creation of God without God? The Muslim mind has accepted that today. Look at how we treat our children. And again, I'm making some very broad comments. This is not everybody's experience, but this is some people's experience. But when we send our children to public school, and we give so much emphasis to public school, and we tell our children you have to be successful in your secular studies, we call it secular studies. And when they come home, we say, where's your report card? How many A's did you get? How many B's did you get? And we tell them whatever you study in this school is very important. Baba, your future depends on it. Your university depends on it. Your work depends on it. Your marriage depends on it. Right? So we give so much importance to it. When they come back from madrasa, we don't ask where is the report card. We don't even know where is the report card. We say at least you went to madrasa, that's good enough for us. So now what is the child learning? The child is learning a very simple message from us. That whatever is important is taught in the school. And whatever is not important for my dunya is not going to be taught in the school. Masalan, they don't teach me magic at school. Why? Because magic is not real. Magic is something to do as a luxury. It's not important to my dunya. Then the child notices that when I go to school, do they teach me about God or not? Do they? So what does the child learn from that? He says, whatever was important, they would have taught me at school. God is not so important. Religion is like magic. Not the way magic is a luxury. Religion is not. So everything is becoming simple. The message that Abu Abdullah is giving to them and the message that he is giving to us is that if your life is not infused with God, if everything does not begin with God, and everything is not heading towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your education, and your spirituality, and your speeches, and your activism, and your community, and everything else, and your politics that you do, is not going to be successful. Then Imam alayhi salam continues. He says in the sermon, he says in the letter, فَاسْتَأْثَرَ عَلَيْنَا قَوْمُنَا بِذَلِكَ. then some people in our community, in our society, they took preference over us. They forced themselves over us. So what did you do at that time? Imam says, فَرَضِينَا, then we accepted it. وَكَرِحْنَا الْفُرْقَةِ. Why? Because we detested furqa. Furqa means division. Furqa means conflict. Okay? Separation. وَأَحْبَبْنَا الْعَافِيَةِ. And we loved afiyah and well-being for the community. We did not like division for the community. Instead, we liked the well-being and the growth of the community. وَنَحْنُ نَعْلَمْ, whilst we knew أَنَّ أَحَقُّ بِذَلِكَ الْحَقِّ, we had a greater right over that haqq, الْمُسْتَحَقِّ عَلَيْنَا مِمَّنْ تَوَلَّاهُ, over those who had taken the reins of power from us. Why is the Imam entering this discussion? Imam is answering a silent question. The silent question that somebody could have is this: that if you have the right of Khilafah, and as you say, this right has been given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that was the argument of the Imam. Allah chose the Prophet. The Prophet conveyed the message. The Prophet is the one who introduced us as the successors to him and the leaders of the Ummah. If that is your claim, then tell us something. Why didn't Amir al-Mu'mineen fight for his rights? From the year 10 after Hijrah to the year 36 after Hijrah, he maintained strategic silence. Why? Why didn't Imam al-Hasan fight for his rights if this right was given to him by God? Why did he sign the peace treaty with Muawiyah? No. You, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, even you from the year 50 when Imam al-Hasan passed away to the year 60 when Muawiyah dies, you also maintain silence. Why did you maintain silence? And the Imam gives a simple answer. He says, وَكَرِحْنَا, we detested furqa and division. Look at how important unity was to the Imam. And how much they didn't want to see this unity within the Ummah of the Holy Prophet. You know, there is a bahath, there is a discussion about Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, that why didn't he raise an army and fight for his right to lead the Ummah? And you find there are two answers given. The first answer that is given is to say that he wanted to raise an army, but there weren't enough people to support him. He said to them, if 40 people were going to support me, then I would have raised the army and I would have fought against the first Khalif. But not enough people came to him. Which means what? Which means if 40 people had come or 100 people had come, then on that day, Ali ibn Abi Talib would have unleashed a civil war in the Muslim Ummah. Okay, that's one opinion. The second opinion is an opinion of many of our scholars, and you find that opinion in the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that Imam alayhi salam chose to maintain strategic silence and strategic patience to protect Islam and to protect the Muslim Ummah. The late Shaykh Murtaza Bachoo has a very beautiful statement about this. He says, what was so important to Ali, for which he maintained so much patience? Patience that was almost intolerable, but he maintained patience to protect it. What was that thing? He said, that thing, if we were to think about it, was the wahda, the unity of the Muslim Ummah. That the Muslim Ummah was able to project its strength because it was united from the inside. And the more important point that he makes, and that's the point we have to appreciate, he says, don't think Ali was majboor. Don't think that he remained silent because of compulsion, because he had no other choice. He said his silence was both calculated and rational. He says, today when you see the Ummah grew and it progressed, it was with the barakah of the efforts of Amir. Now let us come to our day and age. Today you see that the Muslim Ummah is under attack from so many isms. You name it, and there is an ism that is attacking us. There is atheism. There is relativism. There is secularism. The idea of humanism itself. And all these isms are entering the mainstream of the Muslim thought. Through curriculum, through books, through schools, through movies, through clips. بينك وبين الله, between you and God. What do you think is our responsibility right now? Is it our responsibility to stoke the flame of tension and conflict between the Shia and the Sunnah? Or is it our responsibility right now to protect Islam and the Muslim Ummah from the onslaught that is coming towards Islam and the Muslim Ummah? What would Amir al-Mu'mineen do right now? What would Imam al-Hussein do right now? Sometimes we don't have an appreciation for what the Imam did, Amir al-Mu'mineen did during the period of silence. You know, we have all heard that whenever there came a matter of adjudication, and Masalan Umar was unable to judge in the right way, then they would come to the Imam, yes? Or the Imam would come to them. And the Imam would guide them on how to judge. And so the second Khalif would say, لَوْلَا عَلِي لَهَلَكَ. Had it not been Ali, for Ali, then Umar would have perished. And you say this was showing them the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt. Masalan, sometimes a question of tafsir would come up. Or sometimes a question of theology would come up. And nobody could answer it. So Imam alayhi salam would answer it. You would see Imam is showing them the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt. Let me read for you something from Nahjul Balagha. And I have to refer to Nahjul Balagha to be able to make this point. This is Khutbah or Kalam 146 of Nahjul Balagha. 146. 146. I'm repeating it. So in case you want to refer it after the lecture, you can refer to it after the lecture. What role did he play during that period of time? He was an Imam. Whether he's given the Khilafah or he's not given the Khilafah, he is an Imam. His role is to protect the Muslims. So I read for you now. وقد استشاره عمر بن الخطاب في الشقوس لقتال الفرس بنفسه. Umar ibn al-Khattab came to him to seek his advice on whether he, Umar, should go to the battlefront or Umar should not go to the battlefront in the battle against the Persians and the Iranians. And Imam alayhi salam on that day, in order to protect Islam and to protect Muslims, gave him sincere advice. In order to protect the leadership of the Muslims, gave him sincere advice. These are the words of our Imam. Imam alayhi salam said to him, I'm just reading a part of it for you. The Arabs today, even though they are small in number, are big because of Islam. The Arabs today, even though they are small in number compared to the Persian civilization, the Persian Empire, compared to the Roman Empire, but they are big because of what? Islam. Islam has given greatness to them. And strong because of unity. You should remain like the axis for them and rotate the mill of government with the help of the Arabs, and you should be their root. Khutbah 146 of Nahjul Balagha. So what is our responsibility today? I know I've repeated this in many lectures. And sometimes things have to be repeated until they become part of our thinking. And we start breaking some of our old thinking. What would Amir al-Mu'mineen do today? Would he stoke the flame of tension? Or would he call for unity within the Ummah? It's not just the responsibility of the one who speaks. It's also the responsibility of the one who listens. You should also be sensitive towards unity. You should also be sensitive towards wahda. You should also be asking for unity to be given importance within the Ummah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam alayhi salam then continues and he says, وَأَنَا أَدْعُوكُمْ إِلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَسُنَّةِ نَبِيِّهِ. And now I am calling you towards the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Holy Prophet. This is the path that's going to lead to our success. It's when we follow the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Holy Prophet, that's when the ummah is going to be reformed and is going to rise once again. And he says, فَإِنَّ السُّنَّةَ قَدْ أُمِيتَتْ وَإِنَّ الْبِدْعَةَ قَدْ أُحْيَتْ. For surely the sunnah of the Prophet has died, has been lost, and surely bid'ah and innovation has been revived within the ummah. So then the Imam says, وَإِن تَسْمَعُوا قَوْلِي. And if you hear my words, وَتُطِيعُوا أَمْرِي, and you follow my commands, أَهْدِكُمْ سَبِيلَ الرَّشَادِ. I will guide you to the guided path, to the right path. وَالسَّلَامُ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَةُ. Now, in this letter, these two lines are important. You know, you have heard Imam alayhi salam explaining why he is rising. Sometimes he says, I'm rising because the leadership of the ummah is not the right leadership. وَعَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ سَلَامٌ إِذَا بُلِيَتِ الْأُمَّةِ بِرَاعٍ مِثْلَ Yazid. Salam be upon Islam when the ummah is led by a leader like Yazid. Sometimes he says the problem is not just in the leadership. He says the problem is where? It's also in the ummah. وَلَكِنْ خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي what? فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. I'm rising to reform the ummah. There's a problem in the ummah of the country. Ya Aba Abdullah, what is the problem in the ummah? In this letter, now the Imam is putting his finger on what the problem is. He says, one of the problems I see in the ummah today is that sunnah of the Prophet has disappeared and bid'ah and innovation has. Now I know that the lecture has been a bit of getting to be a bit of a lengthy lecture, but inshallah the last part, pay attention to that. What is bid'ah and what is sunnah? We say sunnah is the practice of the Holy Prophet. The manner in which the Prophet of Allah used to live his life. How he used to wake up. How he used to sleep. How he used to pray. How he used to go to the washroom. It's part of the sunnah of the Holy Prophet. How he used to dress. That was the sunnah of the Holy Prophet. What is bid'ah? Bid'ah is when things are inserted in Islam which were not part of the sunnah of the Holy Prophet. Masalan, for example, by the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen, people have started to say the nafilah in the month of Ramadan in the state of Jama'ah. Instead of praying it in the state of what? Furada. This is called the Taraweeh prayers. Imam alayhi salam took a stance against it, but people were not willing to listen to him. So that was one bid'ah, one innovation that was inserted in the ummah of the Holy Prophet. Prayers had changed as well. I don't want to go into the details right now, but there are people who say that when I look at the example of prayer at the time of the Holy Prophet, and I look at how people are praying today, it is different. My question to you is this. So Imam Hussein rose in the year 61 after Hijrah, because people were saying salat in Tarawih. Imam Ali alayhi salam did not fight his own companions over Tarawih. Why would Allah Abdullah al-Hussein rise because somebody is doing prayers in Tarawih? What does the Imam mean when he says the Sunnah has been lost and the Bid'ah has been revived? What he means to say is that your way of life no longer resembles the way of the life of the Holy Prophet. Your priorities in life are no longer the priorities of the Holy Prophet. Your principles in life are no longer the principles of the Holy Prophet. Your lifestyle is no longer an Islamic lifestyle. What was important at the time of the Holy Prophet is no longer important to you. At the time of the Holy Prophet, people used to strive to acquire knowledge. When I look at you, and there are examples, the Imam is telling them, when I see you, you're not striving for knowledge, you're striving for entertainment.
Zindabad. Zindabad. Murdabad. Murdabad.
Imam alayhi salam is telling them that for you, the people of entertainment are more important than the people of knowledge. When I see the mi'yar of haqq and batil, it is not the mi'yar that was there at the time of the Holy Prophet. At the time of the Holy Prophet, the mi'yar, the standard was the Quran, the standard was the Sunnah, the standard was the haqq itself. When I look